안녕하세요. Hello, my name is Sally Ann Williams. I'm the Engineering and Community Manager at Google. I'm based in Sydney, and I'm here to talk to you today about the careers of the future. So what are the jobs that your kids, that for those of you who are kids and are students now, might be looking to do in the future, and hopefully give you some tips and some tricks to think about how you might get there and be the next generation of innovators and creators through computer science. Before I get into this, I just want to tell you a little bit about myself, very briefly. So I've been at Google Australia now for 9 years, which is a really long time. I'm on the engineering team, and I work in the fields of computer science education, STEM, that's science, technology, engineering and maths education, and work with governments around Asia mainly on reforming curriculum and inspiring kids to think about careers in computer science. I also work on our university research team, so I look after some really cutting-edge partnerships that we have with universities in computer science and related fields. And then I actually get to look after tech startups and entrepreneurship, which is really, really cool as well, because actually tech startups are sort of one of the outcomes of a career in computer science. And I know you've been hearing a little bit about some of the startup journeys of companies in Korea here today, and it's really, really cool and exciting opportunities that you don't just have to have a career at a company, but you could actually create the next Google in Korea and build a global business. So I'm really excited about that. So let's get going. So I want to talk to you about the changing nature of careers. So one of the things I talk about often, or I talk to parents quite a bit about, and they're concerned, is that careers are changing, jobs are going away sometimes, and there's a fear that maybe robots are going to take over a lot of jobs. But we don't really have to be worried about that, because the truth is technology has always been transforming jobs. So let me give you some examples so that to tell you that this isn't a new phenomena. So on the right up here, we have a man who has a long stick and he's tapping on windows. And his job actually started in the Industrial Revolution. And what his job was called a knocker-upper. His job was to go around and wake up the factory workers to go to their shifts, morning, noon and night. And the technology that actually replaced his career was the alarm clock. Who knew that before alarm clocks there was actually this job? The one on the right is a gentleman that's actually lighting gas lamps. So before we have the street lights, and most of you kids probably don't even know this career existed, but before we had electricity and street lights running and power throughout the world, this was actually a career that existed. But it's not just those examples. On the left here, you can see some gentlemen actually soaring through ice. Before the invention of modern refrigeration, this was actually a career that existed. People used to go and get slabs of ice and use it for refrigeration in their homes. And on the right, before automation at bowling alleys, sometimes the younger generation would be employed to do pin setting and resetting the bowling balls and pins for competitions. So technology changing careers is nothing new. This has been going on for hundreds of years now. But the really exciting thing for me, and I think for all of us, is that the pace of technology is moving so rapidly. With the invention of the internet and modern telecommunications and smartphones, you know, the careers that are possible today have just completely changed and opening up, and there's new careers coming on the market every single day. So I want to have a look at some of those current careers, so the careers that we see en masse today. So in 2014, LinkedIn actually looked at their member profiles. So they looked at over 250 million members globally. And what they were trying to do was identify the top 10 careers or job titles listed in their member profiles that didn't exist in 2008. So these are the careers that have emerged within a 5-year period, brand new careers that never existed before. And this is the list that actually came up. So iOS developers, Android developers, social media interns, data scientists, UX designers, UI designers, big data architects, cloud service specialists. All of these careers have computer science in them and software engineering, but they didn't exist 10 years ago. If you think about it, we've all got how many people have a smartphone here in the audience today? An iOS, an Android, yep, you've all got smartphones. 10 years ago, you didn't have a smartphone. They didn't exist. So careers as iOS developers and Android developers didn't exist. Yet we take it for granted today. We so assume that career's been around for such a long time, and it's less than 10 years old, that technology. It's absolutely amazing. But it doesn't stop there. Other careers that are around today that I think are really exciting, that all have a computer science basis to them, but aren't necessarily software engineer or programmer. They have a different title, include things like this: app designer, app developer, market research data miner, cloud computer services, user experience design, website design, SEO specialist, big data analysts. These are careers that we don't typically think about when we study computer science or software engineering, but they all have computer science at the core of them, and they all have computational thinking and coding as a component. And these are some of the fastest growing careers in the world. So this is where we are today. This is what the world is. This is my world, the world I live in every day. I work with all of these people every day. But what about the careers of tomorrow? Because I think that's where the excitement is, and that's where the possibility is, and that's why we need to get kids excited about coding and computational thinking and software engineering. So I like to think about the careers of the future in a different way. I like to think about them in this narrative that isn't just computer science, and it's not just software engineering. I like to think about it as CS plus X. So CS is computer science, so software engineering, coding, programming, computational thinking, and X is really any other discipline. Could be music, could be art, could be finance, could be medicine, or it's the problem that you're trying to solve in the world. Hunger, climate, sustainability, smart cities, cancer, disease, any of those things. And it's at the intersection of CS, computer science, plus X, another discipline, that you actually have these emerging careers of the future. These are new careers. These are careers that are only just starting to come to fruition, and the careers that we don't even know about yet. And that's where it's really exciting for me, because at the center of these two disciplines and having a knowledge in both is actually where the biggest innovations in the world are going to come from. And it's where we're going to actually have people who grow up and say, I want to change the world, and they will do it. They will change the world in really radical ways. So let's go through a couple of examples to just give you unpack this a little bit further and give you a bit more insight into what I'm talking about. So this is Danielle Feinberg. She is the director of lighting at Pixar Animations. So Pixar Animations is a multi-award-winning animation company that makes phenomenal movies that are global hits around the world, and I'm sure many of you here have seen some of their movies. So she, as her role of director of lighting, actually has a CS plus art, fine arts sort of career. So she merges the artistic, the ability to understand set design, direction, lighting, and production with computer science. Because what she's doing isn't lighting a stage like I'm on right here now. She's actually providing lighting to animated feature films. So she's actually writing millions and millions of lines of codes to light feature films. That's not normally the career you think about when you think about a computer scientist. But it's a really, really cool emerging industry that is growing around the world. And it's not just Pixar. Game companies have incredibly creative careers like this. And so often when I talk to kids, I'll say to them, what do you love at school? And they're like, I love art. I'm like, that's fantastic. You should study computer science as well, because you could end up working for one of the biggest studios in the world, creating amazing works of art that delight and inspire millions of people globally. This is probably one of my favorite examples of a CS plus X career. How many people have ever come across somebody with diabetes or have heard about diabetes, the disease diabetes? Put your hand up. So often when I ask this question in classrooms around the world, over 50% of the class will put up their hand and say, I know somebody with diabetes, or my friend has it, or my family has it, and I understand what that disease is. So diabetes is a big challenge for us globally. It's a big challenge for people who live with it. They have to manage their blood sugar levels every day, and currently the method for doing that is to take an invasive little prick of blood from their finger. They prick their finger, get a drop of blood, and measure their blood glucose levels. And it's not very pleasant, and oftentimes by the time they've done that, their blood glucose is either elevated or fallen beyond the safe levels, and they have to have a medical intervention, either via drugs or food, to help balance that out. This is a smart contact lens. This came out of our X Labs. It's called Iris, and it has a tiny little transistor and chip in it that can automatically detect from the saline in your eye your blood glucose levels and send the alerts to your smartphones in real time. So what that means is that for somebody that is actually suffering from diabetes and trying to manage it, this potentially could change the way that they live. And it could mean that they live a life where they never have to take a little blood test again. They never have to worry about their blood glucose level spiking or falling, because it can automatically be alerted to their smartphone the minute it starts to go out of the safe zone, and they can intervene earlier. So what does that mean for society? Well, it means for that person, it means a much better quality of life, and it means they're probably not going to have some of the onset issues that can come from diabetes over your lifetime. And for the healthcare systems around the world, it means much less burden if people are actually able to live a healthier life. So this is an example of a career in CS and medicine, and this isn't the only one. There are people around the world combining computer science and medicine and deep understanding in both to look at cures for disease and manage disease in amazing ways. I recently was at the University of Queensland a few weeks ago, and I was speaking to a computer scientist there who has started doing a very deep work with the Cancer Centre. And the work that he does is a specialist in image research. The work that he is doing is actually working with the mammogram team, so they're looking at helping to provide much better healthcare for women who are at risk of breast cancer. And they are looking at overlaying imagery of women in their previous scan live time with their new scans and automatically detecting areas of concern so that the doctor has a much higher rate of knowing that this person is got something that needs to be treated, which can actually save lives. So when I tell him what he does, he goes, "Oh, I'm just a computer scientist." I said, you're not just a computer scientist. What you're doing is you're a computer scientist that is working to save the lives of millions of women around the world. And that's pretty cool. That's not a career that you'd think most computer scientists are doing, but that's actually what CS Plus Medicine is doing right now. This is another one. This is CS Plus Transport. I love this one. This is cute. This is our self-driving car at Google. I like it because I'm from Australia, and I think with its little black nose there and little lights, it looks a little bit like a koala. So I feel like that's a little bit of a cute homage to my country, even though it's designed and built in America. The World Health Organization estimates that there's over 1.2 million deaths per year on the roads because of driver error. So it's people speeding, it's people texting while they're driving, it's people drink driving, it's people doing things when they're too tired and shouldn't be on the roads. Self-driving cars has the potential to reduce those number of fatalities, but more than that, it actually has the potential to change the way that we look at roads and transport and community through ride sharing, through safer ride sharing, through optimizing our time on the roads and things like that. And the really cool thing about this is when I talk to people about self-driving cars, they don't realize that it starts with computer science. They always think it starts with the car. But it doesn't start with the car. It actually starts with looking at what's happening on the road, figuring out ways of understanding and interpreting the data of the real world and what's going on around us in real time, and looking at predictions and patterns over time to understand what people are doing, and then build the technology and the software that will drive the car and respond accurately to that. So it's a really, really, really complicated computer science problem. And that's actually the foundation of where it starts. It's not actually with the car. The car is something that comes later. And I think most people don't see the computer science in that when they see these little cars, but it's a really cool idea. I want one. So this is an example of computer science and biomechanics. So this is a project from the Not Impossible Labs. It's called Project Daniel. And Mick Eibling was an American who was really moved by the plight of some men in the Sudan that he had seen that had lost limbs. There was a large number of people due to the civil unrest there had been in circumstances where they had lost an arm or a leg or two arms, and just given the situation in their country, they were not able to afford prosthetic limbs or to get any treatment to actually help with that and to live a better quality of life. He has a really great understanding of how the body works, biomechanics and physiology and how movement occurs, and he actually has a really good understanding of computer science. And when 3D printing became a little bit more accessible and a little bit more portable, what he did was took his 3D printer over there and at very, very low cost actually was able to custom fit and 3D print prosthetic limbs for some of the people over there who had lost their limbs and completely transform their quality of life. And I love that because that's making a real difference in the world. But he went one step further, which I think is even more cool. He didn't just actually go and do that and build those things for those people. He actually then taught them how to do it as well. So he went to the clinics and the specialists over there that understand biomechanics, and he taught them some computer science and some programming so that they would actually then be able to custom print 3D prosthetics, which I think is really, really cool area. So this is another example of a career of the future and an emerging career. CS plus fashion. This is really exciting because this one, I can't tell you what the answer is going to be right now. I can't tell you what this is going to look like. This is Project Jacquard. This is something that Google announced at I/O, our big developer conference in San Francisco this year. And basically, we're able to weave real-time technology into commercial looms and into the very fabric of clothes. And what that means is that we're building a product that we're going to be able to work with developers that is going to have haptic, it's going to have interactive touch, it's going to have ways and means of interacting with real wearables like our clothes, not just our Fitbits and our watches and the things that we put on, but we're going to have ability to interact with our clothes and materials that we put on and fashion items in ways that we've never dreamed of. And the reason I can't tell you where that's going to go and what the careers that's going to lead to is that's right at the cutting edge right now. This is brand new technology, and we don't know what our fashion friends that have computer science are going to do with this. And that's really exciting. So for those of you that are out there that are really interested in computer science and fashion, this could be the career that you design for yourself. And I think that's really, really fun. So I've talked a little bit about computer science and what that means to combine that with another discipline, with a passion or with the problem that you want to solve. But I do want to be really real about this. Right now around the world, there is a global movement to get every child and every student to learn computer science and coding. And I know that people don't necessarily all understand why that isn't so important. I want to tell you that the reason it's so important, that it's not about becoming computer scientists and programmers, although we definitely need more of those. In America alone, there's 1 million shortfall in jobs by 2020 of computer scientists and programmers. That's just computer scientists. But we actually need people in every single industry who have computer science capabilities, who have the ability to understand computational thinking, who understand how to solve problems, who understand how to create with code and with software and build new products and solutions for the world. And we don't just need them in computer science, we don't just need them at Google, we actually need them in medicine. We need them in transport, we need them in urban planning, we need them in disaster relief. We need them in every type of career you can possibly imagine. There is a role for a computer scientist or somebody that has a computer science capability. So it's incredibly important that we move that way. One of the things, though, I think will happen over time is as we move forward and we have this global movement to learn to code and to learn computer science, is we actually move to X plus CS. And the thing that's really exciting about this is that is where the unknown is, but that is where you can take control and you can actually design your own career. I think one of the things that fundamentally we need to shift an understanding of globally is that careers are jobs for life. No longer do you work for the same company for 40 years and retire with a gold watch. The estimates now, the modern estimates, is that students today that are graduating from university will have 8 different careers in their lifetime. That's not jobs, that's career changes. And so one of the things that we want to do is we want to provide inspiration to have people and have students thinking creatively about the problems that they want to solve in the world and be very, very passionate about that, because let's face it, there's some really big challenges we're facing globally. But then give them the skills in disciplines, in computer science and in other areas, so that it doesn't matter what career they're in, they've actually got skills that will give them a global career and a global opportunity anywhere in the world, and that they could truly work for anybody doing amazing things. But even more exciting than that, they could actually consider becoming an entrepreneur and a startup. They could be that passionate about a problem. They could be that passionate about something that they want to see different in the world. And they could see that there is a market for it globally, and that they would take their computer science ability and knowledge, they would take their disciplinary skill in another area, and that they would actually build more Googles, more Twitters, more Facebooks, more self-driving cars and medical breakthroughs and other very large companies, and they truly would do things that are magical and inspiring and impact the world in a meaningful way. So I want to leave you with that thought that we need to change the discussion that we're having with our kids. We need to change the discussion that we're having in our families and in our schools from doing this degree, so doing medicine, becoming a doctor, doing accounting, becoming an accountant, to what is it that you're passionate about? What is the area of difference that you want to focus on and make a difference in the world? And what skills, what disciplines do you need to study at university to equip you to do that? Because I really do believe we are in a fundamental shift that has an opportunity for our kids today, globally and locally. So thank you very much for today. I hope you've enjoyed my presentation, and that's everything. Thank you.